It has recently become abundantly clear to me that doing nothing is a key part in doing, well, anything. Let me explain. Recently, I've started going on long walks. It began one evening when my brother showed me a route I had never taken before, leading me down back roads to a little spot where the houses fell away and you can get a perfect view of the mountains. The next day, when I got home from work, the sun was setting and I knew just where I wanted to watch it from. Quickly, I found myself addicted to these daily walks. I would be at work, excited to get home, to pop in my headphones and head out for my little excursion. I didn't know why I felt so immediately attached to this routine. I just knew that it made me feel good, happy. There's this YouTuber I really like, Leonie. She usually does book content, but recently she started up her own podcast called Curiouser and Curiouser. In February, she posted a video titled The Art of Doing Nothing, in which she and her friend discuss the dangers of a purely productivity-based mindset.
Another thing that Byung-Chul Han mentions is really important about doing nothing is that the doing nothing is necessary to reflect. And this is what we talked about. Like, I feel bad if I spend like an hour just like staring into space and just thinking about something because I'm not like working towards something. But lately I've realized that I need that. I think we all need those little moments of contemplation, of just reflecting and just processing everything that is happening to continue living your life. Like, sometimes you need to just be.
While listening, it finally clicked. That's why I love my walks so much. It wasn't just because they were getting me moving, although that was definitely another positive. It's because it was like the one time of day I gave my brain the freedom and space to do nothing. During those walks, I put zero pressure on myself to focus on anything specific. Sometimes I spend the whole walk just listening to my music. Sometimes I think about what I'm going to do when I get home. More than once, I've spent the whole walk daydreaming. More often than not, however, the simple act of letting go means that my creative brain can run wild. It's like how you have the best ideas when you're in the shower. Have you ever wondered why that is? Basically, the shower is the perfect combination of engaged but not overstimulated. Your body is on task, but not in a way that requires your full attention, so naturally your brain wanders. There's a fun little article on Mental Floss that says, this kind of daydreaming relaxes the prefrontal cortex, the brain's command center for decisions, goals, and behavior. It also switches on the rest of your brain's default mode network, or DMN, clearing the pathways that connect different regions of your noggin. With your cortex loosened up and your DMN switch on, you can make new creative connections that your conscious mind would have dismissed. This mental state can also be found when you're working out, doing a repetitive task like knitting, or going for a walk. I started noticing these new ideas right away, and being the type A person that I am, quickly made a new note on my phone that I add to every time one of these ideas comes to mind. Some are more specific than others, but it's grown rather substantial at this point. This takes me to the second part of my argument. As a freelance artist trying to make a living from my work, you may or may not be surprised to know that very little of my art is ever just for me. Whether it's work for a client or participating in a trend or making things for my online stores, there's always something I should be working on. And it has to be good. It's for other people, after all. There's no room for trying new things because the people have expressed what it is they want, and I need to provide that. Now, that makes it sound a bit more dramatic than it probably is. I know I have lots of people who follow me who would be excited about my work simply because I'm excited about it. But in my head, there's always still that pressure when I know I'm making something for others. You can still create good work in those parameters. Heck, most of the famous art we know throughout history were commissions, requested of an artist by a client. However, I think that pressure and expectation can limit creativity. John Cleese gave this great speech in 1991 about creativity. I've seen a few clips of it floating around TikTok. He says this:
"Nothing will stop you being creative so effectively as the fear of making a mistake." Now, if you think about play, you'll see why. True play is experiment. What happens if I do this? What would happen if we did that? What if? The very essence of playfulness is an openness to anything that may happen, a feeling that whatever happens, it's okay. So you cannot be playful if you're frightened that moving in some direction will be wrong, something you shouldn't have done. I mean, you're either free to play or you're not.
This really stuck with me. A few weeks ago, I was working on a new piece. I had started it months ago on a plane ride, just a little doodle of something I was feeling. I had this vision of what I wanted it to be, but it felt so different from my usual style, I had no idea what I was doing. I got overwhelmed and intimidated, and so instead of just going for it, I put the sketch away for a long time. Finally, I pulled it out and decided to give it a try. I didn't put any pressure on myself for it to look any certain way. I used brushes I had never tried. I added colors and textures almost on a whim. I was following a path of experimentation and curiosity. What would happen if I added a blur there or a shadow here? Some things I didn't like, but I found a lot of things I really, really did. Things I never could have planned. By the end of it, I found that not only was I incredibly pleased with the result, I had also enjoyed the process of creating more than I had in a long time. And it was all because I had made a creative environment where there were no wrong answers, no mistakes, no fear. When speaking to some fellow artists online, Kayla, a writer, said, "Writing is playing in a sandbox. Playing with new ideas is a requirement." Another artist, Jocelyn, also said, "Art that is fun to make is worth it."
I have always had the mindset of like, if I can't do it perfectly, then why should I do it at all? And I'm really learning that it's actually okay to just do it imperfectly, because at least you've done it. And if you are not only focused on the end product, then you start realizing that you can also do it, even if it's not perfect, because it is about the play of it all. It's about the process.
In order for there to be true creativity and joy, there needs to be a place without fear or pressure. That can be pressure from outside or fear from inside. The artist known online as Feeful has a book where they say, "Something I wish someone had told me as a younger artist is that ideas are cheap and meant to be spent. I used to ponder over a concept for weeks, scared to commit it to paper because I didn't feel skilled enough to effectively execute it. However, I now find that the more I draw and spend my ideas, the more come my way." Even though I was scared to work on that piece because I didn't know if I was good enough to capture it, when I removed that fear, I actually had a wonderful time doing it, and it's given me new techniques that I can bring into future pieces. Another popular artist, Loish, says of sketching, "I think it is important to have a relaxed mindset when sketching. There needs to be room to play around and learn new things. I try to prioritize having time between projects in which I am free to draw whatever I want." For a few weeks now, I've been trying to give myself one day every weekend where the only things I draw are things for myself. Now, this hasn't always totally been the case. One day I spent a lot of time drawing suggestions people had posted on my social media, so it wasn't completely up to me. However, most of the time, I actually do give myself a few hours of pure creative freedom. And let me tell you, I don't think it's too dramatic to say it has been life-changing. I haven't always been happy with the outcomes. Some pieces will never be seen by anyone but myself. But I'm enjoying the process of drawing again. I'm following my creativity and seeing what happens, and it's reminded me of why I fell in love with art in the first place. So, to recap, it is important to have time for the brain to focus on nothing in particular, to allow space for reflection and creation, essentially to do nothing. Once those ideas are flowing, one should not hold on to them out of fear, but bring them into the world, letting creative expression take the lead. There needs to be special time set aside and protected for this state of play to occur, without any pressure that good work is created. Zero expectations, just joy. I'm really enjoying this whole process so far. It's been fantastic to feel so happy about my work and about creating in general. I'm excited to sit down with my sketchbook again, and you have no idea how much that alone means to me. What about you? In what ways do you bring creativity and play into your life?